because I think Rivals balances for fun where Overwatch balances for balance.
Whole community is on strike in a video game?
Marvel as a whole, not even the game, but just like as a brand itself and like as a set of movies, it's not that popular, as far as I'm aware at the very least, in a lot of Asian regions.
Welcome to Overthink, my game show where I ask contestants a series of hot takes about games such as Overwatch and Marvel Rivals. For my Rivals fans, please keep an eye out on my channel because we have a lot of cool Rivals game shows in the works. If you'd like to be on an episode, please join my Discord server and grab the game show contestants role there. On this episode, we brought on 3 groups of people: Overwatch players, who are represented by Tracer and have a yellow circle beneath them, Marvel Rivals players, who are represented by Diva with a red circle, and finally, our neutrals. These people play and enjoy both games and are represented by Mercy with a blue circle beneath them. Feel free to play along in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more fun game shows like this. It's my first time ever trying out a Rivals game show, but I have plans to do so many Rivals only game shows. So if that sounds good to you, please consider showing this video some love by leaving a like and a comment. But anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. I believe Marvel Rivals is a better game than Overwatch.
I think that Marvel Rivals is a better game than Overwatch for a couple of reasons. I've played both. I stopped playing Overwatch for a couple of reasons. I think the Marvel Rivals devs do their best to listen to the community and kind of make changes to make the player base happy. They don't always get it right, but I think trying their best to listen to the community and actively make changes more than Overwatch did in the past is a good way to go. I think the game has so much built-in lore, with being from the Marvel universe already, and that was something that I really thought was lacking when I played Overwatch, was the lore wasn't as fleshed out as I would have liked it to be. And I just generally find the game to be more fun.
I feel like Rivals is a lot better than Overwatch currently because the game does a really, really good job making you actually feel like the heroes. And I feel like Overwatch used to do that back in Overwatch 1, but as of Overwatch 2, you don't really feel like you're playing the heroes. You feel like you're playing kind of like an empty shell of the characters and what they used to be. They feel a lot more lifeless and don't really feel like they are the characters that they were announced to be in their trailers or cinematics and lore. They just feel like a very broken piece of equipment that you can't use anymore. And Rivals obviously has a lot of issues in terms of balance things and polish, but over the years I'm pretty sure they can overcome that, so I'm willing to give them a chance of that.
I couldn't agree more. Just the same thoughts over and over. I think I'm just generally having more fun. Played Overwatch since the beta, 8 years now. It does feel like you're playing a character through and through, and really that's much to it. Not much more I can add.
Your cat has a lot to add. Put him on the mic. What do you
Sorry about
have
that.
to say? No, it's okay. I want to hear from the cat. What does the cat have to say? Is the cat a Rivals player or an Overwatch player?
Well, her name's Momo, so maybe the Avatar collab won her over in Overwatch.
Oh, let's go, Momo. Woo! All right. Yeah, no, your cat has a lot to say, and it is very welcomed here.
It's just going to vary season to season which game I enjoy more. Like this season, Overwatch is more fun to me because there's more content. But if you were to ask me this question last season, I would have told you Rivals by a landslide. So I think it's really, I think next season will be a good determining factor because it will have a less populated season of Overwatch when it comes to content. And then Rivals will be releasing, 2 new heroes in the span of 2 months. So we'll see what happens next season. But if you were to ask me this season, I would say Overwatch. I think it's just hard to say in particular. I think both games are in a solid spot right now.
I'm a competitive gremlin, so I'm looking at this from a competitive perspective, and just competitively, Marvels is a balancing nightmare. I think Overwatch is way more balanced competitively, because I think Rivals balances for fun where Overwatch balances for balance.
I have a couple different gripes with Marvel. First off is just the pure feel of the game. Optimization and memory leaks just doesn't make Marvel Rivals a fun game to play if we're talking from a pure technical standpoint. Overwatch feels better from an audio and a visual standpoint for me. I feel a lot more rewarded when I hit shots. It just sounds good, it feels good. Balance-wise as well, I just enjoy how Overwatch balances things. I don't enjoy, the triple sustain or triple support meta in Marvel Rivals. The triple support meta really soured things for me because I just don't like feeling like I'm not having any impact other than charging ult. And thirdly, with lore, I just never really connected with any of the Marvel characters. I know that, Overwatch's lore isn't as fleshed out as it could be, but I enjoy it from a story standpoint more than I do Marvel Rivals.
Rivals has a more toxic community than Overwatch ever has.
I'm so lonely with my opinion. Yeah, I think that Rivals, in my personal experience, is 10 times more toxic than I ever experienced Overwatch to be. I played Overwatch from 2016 for a couple of years. I stopped playing a couple of years ago. But my experience with Rivals is 10 times more toxic than any other video game I've ever played online. I get throwers, I get people calling me really bad words, I get people being really sexist towards me. Almost, it feels lately like every second or third game, it's really bad, and it's my main problem with the game that kind of takes away from my fun. I don't know if it's to do with the fact that I was a teenager playing Overwatch and I didn't calm as much, and I calm more now. That probably does play into it, but in my personal experience, Rivals has been 10 times more toxic than any other game, especially even Overwatch.
I've played both games competitively and non-competitively, and I do agree with Abby. I find that I have had the most sexist, toxic, throwing, very inappropriate comments at all times kind of situations, more so in Marvel as late compared to Overwatch. I've been in voice chat and playing competitively for a number of years, and I would say I run into my fair share in Overwatch, but it seems like double or triple that amount in Marvel. So that to say neither game is perfect, but I would say that it's way more heightened in Rivals than Overwatch from my experience as well.
I think overall, I also play League, so I've seen the worst of it. But I think Overwatch has a lot tighter of a moderation on voice chats and text chats, which I think helps out a lot with toxic people when throwing. There's the insane customer service guy who just will permaban you for saying a curse word. But I think for the most part, I think it's helped out a lot with a lot of my friends not having to deal with that stuff. And also I think just a wider variety of people play Rivals that are joining from League or Valorant and stuff like that also have just a really toxic community.
I think the big distinction in this one is that Rivals is more toxic than Overwatch ever was. So in 2016, when the game first released, it was the normie game like Rivals is now. So it had tons more people playing, and with more people, more casual players, you're gonna get that toxicity kind of no matter what game you're in, unfortunately. Obviously, if you're to ask right now, which one's more toxic, it's Rivals by a landslide. It's not close. But all time, I feel like they're actually kind of similar. I just don't think that they're too far apart if you're talking about all-time peaks of toxicity, which is kind of crazy because Rivals just came out, but
I think if we're talking all time, I do have to say that I don't think Rivals even comes close to what Overwatch generally has in terms of toxicity. In my experience in playing Rivals, I haven't really seen many people be too toxic or mean towards each other outside the usual banter that you hear inside of game. But Overwatch is the only community I've ever seen where they segregate certain heroes into classes. You'll see people getting mad at Mercy players for just playing Mercy, or calling Rhine players names for just playing Rhine, Doom, Sombra, etc. And they'll even go as far as to attack people just from the certain icons they wear in the game. And it goes really, really deep and really far back. And I don't think Rivals has reached anywhere near that level of toxicity yet.
Is there anybody that would like to change their stance after hearing others speak? Oh, it's a pretty big jump. All right, we went from disagree to somewhat agree. Why?
I went into disagree because, as you can tell, I'm a man, so my experience in games is always less toxic if there's a voice chat involved. So I was listening to the stories that were coming from the people who are in disagree and who have mentioned the sexism, that they've experienced in Rivals. Thought about that for a moment. Was thinking about stories that I've heard from one of my friends who I won't go too into it because it's bad. But basically, she has to change her voice whenever she joins a voice chat in Rivals if she doesn't want to be called the worst things you'll ever hear in her life. But the reason I'm in somewhat agree despite that is just because I've also played League of Legends. I know it can get far worse.
Overwatch is dead. I'm interested to hear if the disagreeers ever would have thought that Overwatch was dead before. Because I think it's pretty hard to argue that Overwatch is dead this season, but prior to this season, I'm curious to hear y'all's insight on if you think it was before. But anyways, let's start with our one neutral gamer.
I think it's make or break right now for Blizzard. What we've learned this year is that competition has arrived. The Overwatch Stadium mode came. I think it's a banger. I think it's a bit sad that a lot of the roster is missing. I'm a bit disheartened to hear we're only getting 3 heroes every 60 days, even though these heroes are pre-existing. And then you have Marvel Rivals, on the other hand, releasing a new hero almost every 30 to 45 days. It's not dead. It's definitely not dead. It's got that Blizzard polish. It lasted this long for a reason. So that's why I'm kind of using my neutral pass, because I have hope as a long-time Overwatch fan, but I also see the promise in competition from Rivals. And to be honest, I want both games to coexist. But I don't know if it's gone. I don't know if it's going to make a comeback. That's why I'm staying in neutral for now.
Yeah, hi, I'm Abika. I think that for a while I did think that Overwatch was dying. I don't think that it was ever dead, because as long as it has a sustainable player base, it's not going to be dead. When I stopped playing Overwatch around 2021, I think, I was of the opinion that the game was dying. There wasn't much fun left in the game. I think the competition with Marvel Rivals has motivated the devs to make the right changes, and I think Overwatch is kind of gaining in popularity again, and I'm really happy for a game that has so much nostalgia to me to be doing well again.
This is Zen. I think that Overwatch suffered a massive just PR nightmare and trust devaluation just from switching to Overwatch 2. Just the whole fiasco with all of that. I don't think I have to go into that very much, but I think they've been slowly regaining a lot of people. The dev updates, I think, have been really good. They've had some setbacks with like the events and the PvE stuff that, you know, general audiences will clown on. And I do have friends who still say it's a gooner game and no one cares about it but gooners, which is annoying. But I think with Stadium launching and other things that they're figuring out, I think it's getting back into a point where I can play it solo and have fun. Before, for a long time, I could only play with like groups, and otherwise I would just switch to a different game. But I think they're getting more casual game modes and polishing up the things that they already had really well recently.
I've personally loved Overwatch for since the first day that I played it. I have never seen the game. I guess it also depends on what your definition is of dead. Like, does it just mean long queue times, or does it mean people are leaving it for a different game, etc.? Even with Marvel Rivals being a competition, I think that there's still such a substantial base and content creators who help promote the game, and those are the people that I loved watching to learn and get better myself. And I think as long as we have that core base, and the fact that the devs are, I feel like, communicating and listening a lot better to what we want and what we need as players to improve the game with the dev posts, etc. I think all of that is leading towards an upward momentum of the game at the moment. So I personally wouldn't see it as ever be dying, but I don't think it has ever been dead.
Both games have equally bad pricing for in-game cosmetics. Abby, you are always alone. Do you just have like really bad takes? What's going on?
I think I have really good takes. I think I have really good takes, but people have yet to catch on. You know, I'm ahead of the curve.
So you think everybody else here is dumb, is what you're saying? Ooh,
I didn't
cancel
say that.
her,
Don't
guys.
cancel
Cancel her. Cancel her, guys. You heard it here
I
first.
know.
Cool. So let's start with our somewhat agreeers. Let's hear from one, maybe two of you. Who would like to start?
Now, I will be bluntly honest, I have not scoured either shops every day because I'm not a big man for cosmetics, but both games have like pretty similar pricing. Like both battle passes are a tenner. Like a lot of the skins are coming out to be like, you know, 15, 20. They're doing like different bundles. The reason I'm in somewhat agree is because even though Marvel Rivals has like basically, at least in my eyes, the same pricing as Overwatch does, it's got a far better battle pass system, in the battle pass not expiring after like one season of being like used. So as like, other than that, which is far better than every battle pass on the market right now, in my opinion at least, I think like the games are pretty much the same in terms of how they're priced, with the another exception of how Rivals uses like a pretty scummy tactic of like making you convert one like currency into another to purchase things, which can then be used as like a way to deny refunds.
I think that overall they're pretty similar with pricing, but Overwatch just simply has more cosmetics to choose from to purchase, and a lot of those are insanely outrageous for pricing. I think if you wanted to buy a souvenir only and not a bundle, and it's like $8, that's ridiculous. I think like a victory pose being $3 is kind of crazy too. Like, it's just a bunch of different, like the smaller things. Not like, I think the bundles are pretty similarly priced, but just the things that you can choose from otherwise are just way too expensive for what they are. Like, no one's spending $10 on a keychain when you can spend $8 on a physical keychain.
I'm not particularly offended by any of the prices I saw in Rivals or in Overwatch. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can't afford these prices. And I've always been of a mindset where if I'm spending money, I want to spend an equivalent or more of amount of hours into that thing I'm spending money on. So, say spending $10 on Overwatch, I'm not really minding because I've spent, or even hundreds of dollars on Overwatch. I'm not minding because of the 1,000+ hours I've spent in this game. I see this as a pretty fair trade-off considering other sources of entertainment in this world. So yeah, I'm not particularly offended by either side. I also don't think that they could be, or they are fairly priced, or could be cheaper. I'm just perfectly fine with anything.
I feel like Rivals has better skin prices because generally when you want to get skins, you don't want to just only get the skin. You usually want everything that comes in the bundle, like the highlight intros, or in Marvel Rivals case, the MVPs. And usually when you do get them, they're $21 for legendaries, but the epic skins they have usually are really good, just like the legendaries, and they're only like 1,400 coins. But in Overwatch, they can be anywhere from like 25 or even like 32 if it's a bundle for something. And you also have to get into the fact of the matter that Overwatch has mythic skins and mythic weapons that if you don't get them through the battle pass and you want to get multiple, they can cost anywhere from $40 to about 80 or 90 or above. And if you couldn't get loot boxes before, then you really did have to pay a lot of money to get them when Rivals never had that in the first place.
I just want to say, I feel as though obviously everything could be cheaper. We'd all love that. But I think especially with the implementation of Stadium, prices for the skins are okay-ish because now you get to admire the skin, or that you've bought and purchased over the years. Like, you get to enjoy it. Especially like, I will turn that FOV to 90 so I can really enjoy my mythic skin with the gilded, the iridescent, everything. It's amazing. In Rivals, for a sense, there are actually so many ways to get the currency pretty easily just by being a part of the community. Like in the Discord, you can go there. There is a picture of 1,000 Jeffs or something, and they say, find the odd one out. And a bunch of people submit it, and you'll get a gift code, and you can buy your next favorite skin coming out. Like, in terms of pricing for Rivals, I won't harp on that, as the previous just mentioned, but at the moment, I disagree somewhat.
The prices for Rivals gets you more value for your money. So, for example, when I've been on both games, I've seen bundles in Overwatch cost about $40, $50, whereas in Rivals, I've seen bundles for about $20, $25, and you get not one but two skins. You get banners, emotes, sprays. I think you get a lot for your money for the bundles. I think the battle pass value, as someone else mentioned, is also a lot better. You can repurchase old battle passes. You get a lot in the actual battle passes. And I think somebody mentioned as well, like, you can spend like $8 on a charm, for example, in Overwatch, whereas Rivals a couple of weeks ago brought out a $3 pass, which you could play the game, earn a bunch of different rewards, and one of them was a costume coin that you could redeem for a free costume in the store, which I thought was really cool. So I think Rivals does a lot better value for money in that way.
After hearing everybody speak, is there anybody that would like to change their stance? No? Oh, yes, one person? All right, go ahead. Why did you swap? Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? And why?
I think Abby kind of convinced me more of what I was thinking. I was a bit on the fence, but $3 was amazing for that pass. I remember it. It's what led us to getting the symbiote boogie. And that was a great emote for Venom. And I just remembered, yeah, there are things that are $50, $60, especially in Australia for me. That conversion rate's not fun. And I'm like, I can just go buy a full game instead of just some cosmetics for those prices in Overwatch. It's a bit crazy.
Marvel Rivals has way better characters than Overwatch in terms of design and lore. We have all the rival players dworking each other off and agree over there. We have a lone squiggle and somewhat agree. We have somebody in neutral. We have 3 people in somewhat disagree and 1 person in disagree. Alrighty. Rivals players, you guys have a little fan club going on over there. Abby's finally not alone. Yippee!
Yay.
Let's hear from
I have friends.
1, maybe 2 of you.
In terms of Rivals, I'm gonna be non-objective here. I just fell in love with Jeff so hard that I looked up his lore and basically scrounged everything I could about him. I never did that for an Overwatch character so hard, so Rivals just made me fall head over heels and I want to learn more about the characters because this game exists. And Overwatch, I feel like the lore is like on the side sometimes and the characters are kind of in the Overwatch bubble.
I feel like if we're talking in terms of character design and lore, Rivals clearly clears Overwatch in that regard. I mean, we're talking about Marvel here, where we have very iconic classic superheroes like Spider-Man, you have Captain America, Tony Stark, Venom, Black Panther. When you look at recent character designs in Overwatch, especially lore, the lore has, again, been all over the place, completely forgotten. The writing team was basically let go, so we know there's not going to be any lore expansion anytime soon. And a lot of characters in Overwatch are very forgettable, like Hazard or Freya. And a lot of characters that were popular before kind of just get pushed into the background because they don't really get monetized for skins or really any kind of events at all.
I do agree with some of the things that they said, that lore-wise, it's not close, at least recently for Overwatch. It's been a little forgettable, to say the least. I think a lot of the characters are kind of very similar personality-wise. That gets a little boring, but I think more hero design-wise, I actually find a lot of the DPS in Rivals to be really fun, but I also only mostly play DPS. I do think some of the supports and tanks are kind of boring compared to Overwatch, but as a DPS player, like, I would rather play some of these Rivals characters that are really fast, zip around the map, or even ones like Human Torch, Iron Man, where you, like, you know, you get to kind of map control a lot. I do think Overwatch has done well though recently with like Freya and Juno. I thought were both pretty good.
I feel like between both games, they have each of them respective very recognizable character designs, whether it be the iconic heroes, like, okay, so Tracer and Diva, like you would know anywhere, same with Spider-Man, Captain America, etc. But I think in terms of lore, like, I remember getting into Overwatch for the first time and watching all of those lore videos, and that being part of what brought me into the world and making me love the game even more. So I understand it has not been expanded on in a long time, and that there's been areas where they've fallen short, but I think that there is a lot of weight in the lore that they have given the characters and the heroes, which is part of what ties people to them emotionally as their favorite characters. I would say the same would go for Marvel Rivals, obviously, with all the comics and the years of developing those storylines and how they're making it into the game mode that you can play and help solve this crisis. Like, I think that that's really smart. And they give you excerpts of their lore within their character screen so you can read more about them. I think that they both do a really good balance of lore and character design and bringing out new heroes that are a bit different. I understand some playstyles can get a bit stale, but I think that they still both do a really good job in both of those areas. So I wouldn't say one is better than the other. I think they both have qualities that are really good.
If by character design you mean like the visual design alongside the lore, realistically I shouldn't be in this place because it's just not a contest with Marvel. Like, the first Marvel comic was 1939 or like 1940 or something. Like, Marvel has been going on for decades compared to Overwatch, which, like, I don't know, whenever it was conceived first with like Titan and all that. But in terms of like actual like gameplay character design, in my opinion, Overwatch clears, and I won't yap too much about it, but basically it is just a simple case that I find a lot, like the majority of the Rivals cast, to be extremely one note and bloated. They have too much going on and it doesn't do anything, but I find Overwatch to be a lot more less is more.
I think it's unfair, just as Cornman was saying, to compare it, because Marvel Rivals didn't make these characters. They took it from the Marvel IP. They have reimagined them design-wise. I'm going to kind of take the question more on the approach of design of the character and lore rather than game design, because the game design elements we know are just mix and match of hero shooter elements, and everyone's mixed around. For example, Reinhardt is in Overwatch, has a shield, hammer, charge, and a big slam. In Rivals, there are 4 heroes who have each of those, split up, but not a single one of them replicates what Ryan could do. And when you're talking about the lore, the Overwatch cinematics still to this day give everyone goosebumps, blow everyone's mind. Like, we only have 5% of the lore. We've been attacking Null Sector for 5 years still. We don't know when we're ever going to finally win that battle in the lore. And ultimately, it's just unfair to give Marvel Rivals that label of they have better characters than Overwatch, when Overwatch designed all these original characters, Blizzard as a team, and won Game of the Year at one point with this. Whereas Rivals, respectfully, NetEase, they did invent Luna Snow. That is true, in a previous title of theirs. So that is an original character, not directly from the comics. But everything else was pulled from source material and then mishmashed together and then given a nice polish of paint. But it's unfair to give them that accolade over Overwatch in this scenario.
Is there anybody that would like to change their stance after hearing others speak?
I agree with Liger that it's really hard to compare Marvel source material and call that Marvel Rivals lore when they don't. Like, super incorporated. Like, I mean, they do, but also not like stuff that they've made themselves. And I think Overwatch has done a really cool and interesting job at making the lore. I think it's super deep and interesting. I have like 2 lore books in my shelves right now that I've read through and look at all the time, and just the dynamics of all the factions. And also I think the character design and stuff like that they used to pretty much make stuff from scratch is also just a step above what the Rivals ends up doing, even though they have because they have source material that they're going off of.
We have another repeat question from the first episode, but it's a good one. It's a spicy one. I love asking this one. I love hearing people argue about it. Give me some good spicy hot takes. As of right now, nobody's really canceled. I hate that. I want like at least 5 of you canceled. Come on, give me good content. All right. Support is usually the easiest role in most games.
Even in both Overwatch and Rivals, supports are kind of designed basically the same way, where the majority of supports have either auto-aim abilities, don't need to really make much plays. They have the option to, but generally not making plays doesn't impact the game too much. A lot of their abilities and ults are just like a push of a button and it does a thing. You look at the floor, you push Suzu does a thing. You push Kitsune, it does a thing. You push Luna Snow's ult, it does a thing. And they don't really have much mechanical aspects to their kits. There are quite a few in Overwatch and a few in Rivals as well, like Luna, aside from her ult. But generally speaking, they don't really do much in terms of like differential things for the kits. It's usually just the same thing, kind of just spread across different characters.
All right, cool. Anybody else in that same stance want to elaborate?
Yeah.
All right.
Hi, it's Squiggle.
Wait, before you start, don't forget that your girlfriend, who is an amazing human being, is a support player, okay? Actually, no, fuck that. Go at it. I need good content. Sorry, Trasherlin.
Okay, so I think I'll out of the way really quick. I think support has to be the easiest role to play because of how important it is. If the supports are really hard, the team just kind of falls apart. They need to be a little easier to play so that it's, easier to pick things up, right? However, how entitled do you have to be as a player in a video game for a guy to say, I think support players are bad, and now your whole community is on strike in a video game? Are you crazy? Just play your heroes. You're in plat anyway. It's fine. There's no reason for this whole player base to be like, we're not going to play anymore because you said that support players are bad. Necros, 8 months ago. Unbelievable. How could you? I don't care. Play your easy characters. It's fine. No one's going to make fun of you for playing easy heroes. It's okay. Everyone wants to have different experiences in games. Play your easy heroes. Stop complaining.
All right. Zen is shaking their head like crazy. Zen, do you have anything you want to add on to that? You have permission to call him an idiot. I give you permission. Skogo and I, we go way back. I give you the pass.
I mean, I have a lot of friends who have experienced insane amounts of sexism and just trash talk and the worst things imaginable said to them just because they play support and have like a gender neutral, androgynous, or feminine name. Like, it's ridiculous the kind of things they say. Or even if they're not on support, just go back to support, like, or whatever, stuff like that. It's insane. I think striking is entirely fair to just, I mean, it's a game. If they're not having fun on support and they're getting constantly trash talked for playing support, then just, they're gonna play something that's more fun. I mean, I think that makes perfect sense to do.
I should elaborate and say I'm not defending anyone, like, any kind of sexism, obviously. If you're getting that kind of shit and you don't want to play your characters or you don't play that role anymore, that's fine. But feeling like because one person, a random streamer that you probably don't even watch, said like, I don't think support players are very good, you like get on your high horse and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna play my role anymore. Then that's where I think it gets a little silly.
Yeah, I personally, the people who I know who have striked from playing support are not like doing it because of Samito. It's more the general feeling they get from playing support. And
wait, Samito.
Not Samito. Oh my goodness. I'm not very active on Twitter. Yeah, Necros. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, Samito.
I was like, damn, what did Samito say on the first episode? That got people so mad.
My bad.
Oh, he's called support players bad, dude. Don't worry.
But yeah, that was just my take on the striking. I think it's a totally reasonable thing to do for a lot of the people that I've interacted with, and their reasonings behind it, I think, is valid.
Okay, so let me bring up something. We have two of our neutral players, people who play both Overwatch and Rivals, who are disagreeing with each other. One is saying the strike is ridiculous. The other person is saying the strike is reasonable. By a show of jumping up and down, do you think that the people striking were ridiculous? Jump up and down if you think it is kind of a silly thing to strike about. Okay. All right, now stop. And then if you think that they were so valid to do so, go ahead, jump up and down. All right, for everybody else that didn't jump, why?
I feel like a lot of people also are associating the strike purely with Necros, which I don't actually believe is the reason why a majority of people were not playing support or strategist in Marvel Rivals. I think a lot of it had to do with, one, you were actually getting less performance points for a long period of time if you played strategist, if you won a game compared to if you played DPS or Vanguard. So it was a completely unbalanced performance match, scoring that would actually penalize you for playing strategist, which you need to have to sustain yourself during team fights at all points. So I think it just paired very badly timing-wise with the comment that Necros made, and then someone made a stupid post on Reddit and said it was because of Necros, and then people jumped on that train and went really crazy with it. And I feel like it just blew it out of proportion. I do think that strategist / support is an easy, technically, in-game role to play. But I think that you can also extremely tell when there's a bad support versus a really good one in terms of ability cooldown, the way that they manage their ults, use their ults, how they're communicating with their team, etc. And that's what makes them stand out. So it might be easy technically, but that doesn't mean it is overall easy to play, especially with the pressure that you're getting from enemy teams and having to sustain your own team all throughout that. So I'm trying to keep it really short, but I'm sort of in a middle zone of that. And yeah.
So somebody in chat brings up a really good point. Didn't we have in Overwatch a support strike back in 2016, 2017 with Aria Rose? I don't know if it was all supports or just Mercy, but I vaguely remember that. Yeah, the rework Mercy movement. Does anybody else remember that? I completely forgot. I think I purposely tried to get that out of my mind. That was from so long ago. But yeah, so it's interesting to see history almost repeating themselves, but for different reasons. But yeah. All right, anyways, back to the order of our hot take. Just a reminder, the hot take was support is usually the easiest role in most games. We left off on Squiggle and agree, so let's move on to our somewhat agreeers.
Rory, I have been cooking up this for 12 years. I'm sorry, BB.
Yeah.
I need to.
No, go ahead.
Support is arguably the hardest role in any game at its highest, but the value that a support player can get putting in just not the bare minimum, that's far too rude, but putting in just base competence, the amount of value they will get on the majority of characters in support in both games, in my opinion, is it far outweighs. There are obvious standouts that are meant to happen, characters like Moira, or even to an extent Cloak and Dagger. These characters who just have a lot of auto aim, they're intended to just be easy characters, and they deserve to exist, right? But it's when the character in question, so little effort gets put in, but so much reward is reaped. And in my opinion, that is support is the definition of that. So often you will have characters or support characters that you don't need to put much effort in to get minimum 80% value, and that 80% could actually be 120% of a different support who's going out of their way, but they might be out of meta. Now that's more of a balancing discussion at the same time, and I'll wrap up the app quickly with one last thing, which is just simply a good support. You will notice a bad support player and a good support player on your team. If anyone knows the streamer Sushi Cat, she's an old teammate of mine. Best Ana I have played with in my life. I have never been alive in situations where I shouldn't have so often, but at the same time, I have felt that with people who are just locking in Juno, or locking in strong editions of Break, or even dare I say it, Mercy pocketing, you will feel that same effect of this insane player just because they're putting in a bit of they're putting in less effort, but just the role or the hero itself naturally grants more. Because support players or not support players, but supports, the majority of supports give their power budget to teammates, which is a lot easier than a DPS or a tank, or even just like a less traditional support taking their own power budget and exerting that on the enemy.
I think that it's hard to say what is a easy role and what is a hard role in terms of especially like hero shooters. I think support roles in general tend to have at least the most characters with like the lowest skill floor, even outside of hero shooters. Like there's Yumi in League of Legends, or like Mercy or something like that in Overwatch. And then like Luna Snow, like Jeff. I mean, they're very basic characters that are easy to understand, and also the role in general. Like even if you are like new to like hero shooters or games in general or PvP games, just having a task that you know exactly what you're doing and trying to focus on is just making sure everyone is like healthy and like is not like going to die is something that newer players are able to focus on. So I think those lower skill characters are very useful for them. I do agree also that like a good support will run games. I'm not fully sure that Rivals has a big enough roster to have super high skill supports. I'm not a support player, and I also don't play like in the highest of ranks, so I'm not fully sure if people have like supports that are absolutely insane. I know there's been like the Gator comps or whatever. I have no idea if that's like just people lying and trying to make a comp that's like goats or not. But like if you see a Kiriko that's smurfing in Overwatch and like Platinum, they're just killing everyone and no one is dying. So I think it's, again, the lowest skill floor, but like the highest skill ceiling for the most part. For like skill expression, I guess. Maybe not the hardest, but still the most skill expression that you can have, probably.
Referring to the original hot take of support is usually easier in most video games is definitely not true. I'm not entirely sure about Overwatch. I haven't played Overwatch in many years, but I know for games, for example, like Valor and Marvel Rivals, I don't think the case. In Valorant, support characters usually have more complicated kits, and then also you need to be mechanically able to, shoot the same as duelist characters can. For example, in Marvel Rivals, I think support is very important in Marvel Rivals, specifically to be dealing damage. If you have supports that are just heal botting, you will probably lose. You'll have more healing. I see this a lot of people say, oh, I had so much healing, why did we lose? And they have almost no damage. I think a lot of supports in Marvel Rivals require mechanics. For example, Adam Warlock and Mantis do a lot of damage, and you need to be mechanically good enough to hit headshots. For example, Luna Snow does a lot of damage on headshots. There's a lot of support characters in Rivals that you do need to be able to aim on. People tend to focus a lot on Cloak and Dagger, for example, because it's a popular character that people play, and I think there is a place for those characters. But I think combining the importance of ult management, the ults in Rivals are the most impactful, plus being able to survive all the crazy divers that Rivals has, plus you do need to actually have mechanics in Rivals, makes it definitely not super easy.
I just want to specifically add on to what you said about different games as well. Like there are games, for example, World of Warcraft, where support role is pivotal in like a massive 25-person raid, and if you buckle, everyone's down, it's just game over. That could go to tank, that could go to your DPS, and that could go to Overwatch and Marvel Rivals. Every role has an easy hero to play and a high skill expression hero to play. Every game has this. It's fundamentally part of game design. There are heroes made literally for a newcomer to pick up and play. In Overwatch, there's many of them. In Rivals, there's many of them. I would know because I played them. I can't aim. I don't know what I'm doing out here, but I'm trying my best. But I think ultimately, like saying just overall support's the easiest role. Not the case at all. Majority of the player-based DPS duelist players in both games. There's Bastion, there's Punisher. You just shoot and things happen. I play Moon Knight, I don't even need to aim. I play Iron Man, I hold a laser and tanks disappear. There's Symmetra, similar aspect, Pharah, Scarlet Witch, all these aspects of heroes that you don't need to have skill, you just need to be consistently doing something, especially for tanks as well. Winston, run in, be a tickle monster. Venom, same thing, tickle monster. Captain America players, they just run. They don't need to do anything but run and stall, and anyone can do that. So every role, there's always easy, there's always hard, doesn't matter. You can't just say support's the easiest, no matter the game.
I believe Marvel Rivals can be more successful than Overwatch ever was.
I feel like Rivals could easily overtake Overwatch in terms of popularity because they have a lot of the formula already down. They have movies, cinematics, TV shows, anything for marketing is basically already there and done, and is still going to be done much more in the future. Like they're already making more movies and shows, etc. And the game has a lot more room to grow, add more characters, maps, polish, fix a lot of balance, and just do a lot of things for the game. Whereas Overwatch needs to kind of bring themselves back to reality like they've been doing right now with the reintroduction of loot boxes, 6v6, Stadium, and it's like they're kind of rebuilding Overwatch, whereas Rivals is just kind of steadily building their game upwards. Overwatch is kind of picking up the pieces. So I feel like in that time frame, Rivals has the opportunity to overcome Overwatch and just kind of blow them out of the water.
I just want to say, NetEase is on the ball with Rivals. Specifically, the fact that they invested in Overwatch esports as well, whilst launching Marvel Rivals. I don't know how confident any organization sounds doing that. They have the Marvel IP backing them. They have Disney IP backing them as a parent company. There are so many resources for them to use. They just announced a $3 million competitive esports tournament across 5 regions. That is insane for your first year of a game being out. They have so many things happening. They have Sebastian Stan promoting the game in an ad. That is insane. That is an A-list actor from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There are many things they could do. They have lore like no one else. Overwatch did amazing. It set the standard. It launched better than Rivals 1000%, but at the same time, they never got to PvE. They never got to explore more than the lore. We always just got set up and set up. Rivals could easily in a year or two drop a PvE mode where there's 12 of us versus Doctor Doom or Dr. Octopus or something crazy, and there are games that have done amazing solo adventure gameplay like the Spider-Man games. There's so much out there that could be done, that could be translated to Marvel Rivals in a PvE mode. It's just there for the taking. It's just a matter of time. Like Overwatch has lived a long time. Rivals has so much time to do so many different things that everyone will be on board for, because they wanted it in Overwatch so bad. And if the, as we know, there's no lore team, there's no PvE team. Hopefully they come back in the future. Hopefully Stadium brings some success to the company to get them to make that comeback, because we want competition. But Rivals is just waiting. They're just studying right now. They're building. They're just trying to get the base game good, because we know for a fact they have history and experience with PvE content, with the entire lore system. They can bring in a division from Disney games, from Marvel games. And yeah, it's there for the taking. It's crazy.
I want to say that I agree with pretty much everything that the people in Agree have already said. I think a big reason that maybe it didn't have the initial global impact that it could have had was a lot of issues with optimization within the game itself, which they have slowly been trying to fix post-release as these things are being identified. And I think that that's a reason, I know like out west, why it didn't do well at all compared to how it took off in North America. And I think that if they continue on the path of listening to their community and making the changes that they need to be able to take off to hit their prime, I think that they very well could meet it as Overwatch did. Not to say that Overwatch didn't do amazing and hasn't been an incredible game and still is very close to my heart, but yeah, that's the main thing I wanted to flag about Marvel Rivals.
So, Rory here. Start off with this. Define success. Are we talking players playing the game? Are we talking money? Marvel, as far as I'm aware, is like if not it's like one of the most popular franchises ever. Like it's like, it is up there with like a lot of like your traditional Disney, your like bloody Pokemons, Marios, these types of things. Like it is just one of the biggest franchises of all time. So like I think it's always going to have that edge on Overwatch. I mean, we're already seeing it with like the amount of characters they're able to release. Overwatch can't do that. Overwatch needs to make all their characters. Marvel has a massive backlog that they can keep on sending out. So I guess if we're talking success of like content release, getting people in and making money, like Marvel just has that. But at the same time, it's like Marvel as a whole, not even the game, but just like as a brand itself and like as a set of movies, it's not that popular as far as I'm aware, at the very least, in a lot of Asian regions, in like the OCE regions as well. I'm pretty sure it's not the most popular. I could be corrected on that now. I'm not too sure there, but I know in a lot of Asian regions, like a lot of my friends who do live there, Marvel's like not a popular thing at all, compared to like the more western side of the world where it's a very popular thing. But in those countries, they're like loving Overwatch alongside other games. Like League would be like one of the main ones, honestly, that I would know of. I'm sorry, I'm on the spot, so I can't come up with others. But because of that, I think it's too 50-50. Like it could go either way. But I will say that in my opinion, I do think Overwatch is going to hit higher highs as a game, but Rivals will be able to just naturally have spikes as like massive spikes in players when, I don't know, like say they release like the Thunderbolts movie that just came out, say they add one of those characters into the game pretty soon, that could lead to a massive spike, because apparently Thunderbolts was great. So I think it largely depends on like what is happening with Marvel in that moment compared to Overwatch, where Overwatch was just the thing from like 2016 to 2018. And I've yapped too much, so I'll stop there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go by, defining different versions of success. If we're talking money, if we're talking population wise, Marvel Rivals is gonna blow Overwatch out of the water, and that's simply because the gaming population has grown since 2016. There's definitely a lot more people trying it out, or that have eyes on Marvel Rivals. But my main concern right now is NetEase's reputation as a company on continuing to support their live service games. They have a bad reputation of, trying to create systems in which they are focused on making more money rather than balancing the game or creating more meaningful content for the game. We've seen that with the recent drama with the Chrono Shield tickets, right? Even though those were free, there is a lot of fear about, NetEase potentially making pay-to-win systems. So it really is up to kind of the future of the game. And you could argue the same thing about Overwatch, right? What if they add pay-to-win systems? What if they go the same route? But I really do think that what I've seen from Overwatch so far, and this content that we've been seeing is from before Rivals really pushed our current dev team to produce something new. So in the coming years, I really do think Overwatch is going to kick it up. It's really just for me seeing how Rivals is going to continue, especially with the current reputation that NetEase does have.
I think that it's impossible for Overwatch or Rivals to hit the peaks that Overwatch had when it launched. I think, I might be mistaken, but it's like the first mainstream hero shooter video game to come out. Like, it cornered the market on a new genre of game, and it was massive. It was game of the year. Everyone was playing it. I think it's impossible to get back to those days simply because there's more games that are similar to it that people have just varied, just spread out amongst. Even like vaguely hero shooters like Valorant or Rivals or Overwatch, they all have their own core bases that used to all just be in Overwatch. And I don't think you can ever get that insane amount of popularity and focus on a game unless it's like, another new game like Fortnite was for Battle Royales or League was for MOBAs or something like that. Well, obviously not, but like...
It won Game of the Year in 2016. It's like like Zen said, it literally defined a new genre of video games that became massively popular. And this is before like the big like kind of gaming boom that happened during COVID. Like, this was the most popular game in the world for a year straight. Again, like you said, neither game is going to get there ever again. I struggle to say never. I think obviously there's a possibility, but it's so minuscule, at least from my perspective, that I don't see either game getting close to what Overwatch 1 was with like the peak of Owl and the 2016 to 2017. Like, it was such a massive thing in the entire world. I just don't see either game getting there again.
Is there anybody that would like to change their stance after hearing other people speak?
Subscribe
right now.
To the 1, to the 1, to the 3. I play easy mode and I play to win. I love to die and I like to BRB. All systems checked out. Group up with me. 2 to the 1, to the 1, to the 3. I'm here to party. GG. A giant gorilla can keep up with me. You can't be serious.